Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome back to the Pipeline Podcast, episode 117. I'm your host today, Darren McClymans. Welcome to the second annual holiday special over at the Pipeline. I am joined by Kyle Arking. Kyle, welcome back.
Hello, good to be back. It's been a bit of a while, but I'm here.
It has been a while. From what I remember, you were one of kind of like the first guests I had on very early on. Was kind of like trying to figure out the show. I wasn't really sure kind of what the whole deal of it was. We talked about my adventures with Superman season 1, not even season 2, it was season 1, which is about a year and a half ago at this point, I think, which is pretty crazy. But how have you been, man? How's it been going?
Been doing good. I have my YouTube channel that I posted. I've kind of throughout the year I've done different things on it. At one point I was doing like toy news at the new like collectible news and such, and I was having fun with that. And obviously I was doing movie reviews, and I actually have now a podcast that I do with my friend Noah, and it's called the Massive Movie Maniacs Podcast. And
Oh,
we've been
amazing.
throughout the year we've been talking about a bunch of different movies. We actually just did an episode on the Glickid phenomenon, so that is coming out soon. So that's basically what I've been up to, in the past year. So
Amazing. Yeah, no, that's really cool. I always see, I haven't been able to make one, but I always see your like spaces over on Twitter where you're kind of having a very open conversation with people. And I think that's
yeah,
very cool just to have, just because anyone can kind of just jump in to those things, right? Like people can just
yeah,
kind of come on in and just join the
it,
conversation, which I think is really cool.
it's for anyone that I'm glad you mentioned it, because I never quite think about it that way, but like yeah, like you can. I'm on Twitter Spaces like a lot, and essentially it's where we have conversations and discussions about any movie news, any TV news that came out in the week. Sometimes I do episodes, or sometimes I do conversations about specific topics like Star Wars or Doctor Who, and then like in the
Sure.
case like your channel, for instance, I'll talk about like movie news, TV news.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. That's absolutely amazing. So yeah, no, it is the holiday season. I love this time of year. I think it's a really fun time. And we're gonna be talking about later on in today's episode some of our favorite holiday specials. Like you were, I do feel like holiday movies sometimes get a bad rap. Like I feel like there are a lot of bad ones, like let's be honest, like there's hundreds of bad ones that get made every single year, so highlighting some of the like good ones I think is going to be really fun. And uh, you know like these movies don't come up a lot of the times. Like I'll do like a lot of episodes that are like our favorite blank or what's our favorite blank blank blank. A lot of these projects just don't come up because of inherently what kind of movie they are, so I think that's going to be really fun. But I do want to get this episode started. Now, I don't think I was doing this when last time you were on the show, but I like to start these episodes by asking my guests media that they've been consuming lately. If that's movies, TV shows, video games, comics, is there any piece of media that you've watched recently that you are just really into, or like you would like to give a shout out to?
Well, I have been playing, and I actually finished the PlayStation game Until Dawn,
Oh, wow.
which my friend was really into it, and she told me to play it, and I really, really enjoyed it. Like, I thought it was very interesting the way they used the idea of a murder mystery and the idea of like Friday the 13th, Scream type of slasher, and they incorporated it into a choice-based game, which
Sure.
I am not as familiar with. I played some choice-based games like Batman Telltale and
Hmm.
Wolf Among Us, but I haven't played many after that. So that was really cool to play this. And one of the reasons why I also played it is because the film Until Dawn is actually going to come out in a couple of months.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's going to be hopefully a really good film adaptation of a video game. But that's definitely something that I've enjoyed lately, that I've been consuming.
Hell yeah, yeah. No, I think I saw some gameplay of it a couple years ago, and it looked like a lot of fun. Just kind of like uncovering this, this like mystery of what it was about like a murder of a girl, right? Like they were at like a cabin, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of. Then. Yeah,
I
it
mean,
looked a lot of fun.
the cast, you had Rami Malek, you had Hayden Panettiere, you had a pretty good cast of actors that joined this game, and it was like motion capture, performance capture. So it's really a different type of video game that I haven't really played
Sure.
before, you know.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I'm trying to I'm at that part of the year where I'm trying to get caught up on things that I missed from the year. And holiday rush is crazy. I don't have as much time this time of year as I wish I did, but I'm trying to get caught up on Only Murders in the Building season 4. I adore that show, but it's a show I love it to death. It's one of my favorite like ongoing like TV shows at the moment. But it has to be a binge show. It just I don't know, it gets away from me. I can't commit to it weekly. So I've been trying to get caught up with that. I've been trying to watch some movies. I watched Lisa Frankenstein that came out back in February.
I've heard great things.
Yeah, no, it's really fun because it was interesting because when it came out, it was like a lot of people I talked to, they were like, this is one of the best of the whole year. And other people were like, yeah, this is complete garbage. I was like, all right, let's see what it's about. And it definitely is very genre heavy where it's like, you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it. And I thought it was pretty good. It's like Heathers in a way. It's like, it kind of feels like this like modern day Heathers movie, which is really fun. And then I watched, not holiday themed at all, but Old Ass with like Aubrey Plaza. It's that like
I love that thing. I saw an early screening of it they did back in when it came out. Want to say early November, October, like when it came out. Oh, such a good film. It was really good.
It's really fun. Yeah, it feels very like, I know it isn't, but it feels very like indie. It feels very like personal, small scale. Like it's this very like huge concept for a movie. Like obviously talking to your younger self is a big thing, but like they play it so small scale and it feels very personal. I was like, yeah, this is really fun. I really like this.
I will say one more thing I thought of. We're talking about
go ahead.
Speaking of like binging, I've decided to make my mission or my objective until like next July is to watch the complete series of Smallville, all 10
Whoa!
On because I watched the first season, but I haven't gone further into it, and now I'm on season 2, and I'm just having a blast watching it. Like it's weird because like the CW shows have now ended. And I kind of like need something to, fill that gaping hole. And I feel like starting off with like the beginning of all of it is a great way to kind of consume it. But also I think I'm doing it because of Superman in general. It's like one of the Superman media that at least is, I think, modern that I haven't really, gone through. And I'm just really enjoying it because I think it's so cool how so many things of Superman's life are introduced in all of these seasons. Like you don't have, I feel like Gotham was a show when they made it where it was like they wanted to make it about Gotham, but then they kept on saying, let's see how far we can make him Batman before he actually becomes Batman. But Smallville, I think, makes more sense because it's like, oh, this is how he learned how to fly. This is how he learned how to get heat vision. This is how he learned, how to work at the Daily Planet. So it makes more sense in that show. And I think that show works much better with that. And I love the cast, too.
Yeah, no, I love Smallville. I watched it. I think I started it pre-Crisis, and then I finished it post-Crisis because obviously we were like, okay, let's be honest. There's going to be some kind of Smallville related thing in that event, and it's fun. It's such a fun ride. In my opinion, it only gets better. So I think, I feel like those first 5 seasons are the seasons where people are like, I don't know, it's super, blah, blah, blah. And then, I think season 5 through 10 is when it really, really gets good. And it's like, oh, this is a comic book show. And I think you're going to be really surprised at some of the things they pull off in that show. It's really fun. Let me read some comments here really quickly. Canada Graphs in the chat, or actually, I think he posted this a couple of days ago. Die Hard. Okay, now we have resolved that question. Next, well, that's the question. Do you count Die Hard like a holiday, like Christmassy type movie?
I think I do. Honestly, first of all, like, I'm Jewish, so like you can't really ask me, what I think is Christmas. Like for me, all I know about it's like Santa Claus. Like I'm not really, I think, an expert on that front. But like if you ask me, I'd say it is. It takes place on Christmas. It's about him trying to save his wife, save this group of people on Christmas. It's a Christmas movie.
Yeah, no, I don't really get the like I get it's a fun debate to have with people, but I'm like, if you want to call it, I don't know, if it takes place on Christmas, it's a Christmas movie. Like, I have no issue people calling it a Christmas movie. I think that's fine. I don't know what the big fuss is about. It's not something I'm watching on Christmas. It's not something I'm watching around the holidays, but I think it is. And yeah, no, like I do feel like, let's just reference the elephant in the room. I did not know that about you before I asked you on today. So but honestly, let's switch the narrative a little bit, because now I think that's going to give you a very interesting perspective on the movies we're going to talk about. You're going to have a different perspective than me when it comes to all these things, and I think that's what the show is all about. I'm always looking for new perspectives on movies and TV and stuff like that. Chainsaw Reacts is also in the house. We know the favorite isn't Grinch. Now, okay, I have. What's your thoughts on the Grinch movie? Do you like it? The Jim Carrey one?
The Jim Carrey one? Oh, yeah. That was one that I contemplated putting on my top 5 list.
Okay, interesting.
I love that film. Listen, I don't know if I'm gonna get hate for this, but I like the Mike Myers Cat in the Hat.
Whoa.
For me, I like the live action adaptations of the Dr. Seuss stories. I had no desire to see the Benedict Cumberbatch animated Grinch movie, but the Jim Carrey one, I think is. It's funny to say it's a classic, but like I think to our generation it is a classic at this point. So yeah, I really love that movie.
Amazing. Well, honestly, that is a fantastic segue to our first news topic of the week. This actually came out last week, but I wanted to bring it up this week. Obviously, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 is on theaters right now. We've had all the press junket, people asking questions. And one of the big members of the cast is Jim Carrey. Now, Jim Carrey says he has some interest in returning in a Grinch sequel if he doesn't have to do all the prosthetics that he has previously. They can do some kind of CGI, some whatever, to do the work. Now, I've already established your thoughts on the original, or I guess not the original, but like what was it, 2005?
2000. I don't know for sure. I'll tell you this, back when I was little, when I would go to Toys R Us, they had the Grinch toys on clearance. And this was around 2002.
Mm-hmm.
So, in my eyes, it's probably around 2000, 2001 that I think that movie came out.
Okay, I just looked it up. It is 2000. So yeah, it's, to people our age, it is a classic. It most definitely is a classic. What's your thoughts on this, though? Like, obviously, again, I know you don't celebrate Christmas, but like, would you have any interest in seeing him return in this role? Like, is this something you'd like to see?
Would I have interest? Absolutely. I love him as the Grinch. I think that would be a great sequel to make. I think people would see it. I feel like it wouldn't fall into the trap of like Beetlejuice, where I feel like I did not care for that movie, and I think one of the reasons why is it kind of felt like a retread of the first film, and I don't really think that you kind of have it, because this is a Christmas movie, so it doesn't really, I think it has the tropes already, so you can just make it again. I would hope it's in theaters and not on streaming, because I feel like if it's on streaming, I don't think it will be good. It will probably feel like a Hocus Pocus 2 or a one of those Disenchanteds that just they drop the sequel on streaming. But I will ask you, I don't know if you know this, but I thought like the Seuss estate, like now like refused them to do any more live action interpretation. So I'm wondering if that might
Oh,
play into it,
interesting.
because that's why
Interesting.
they're all animated now. The Lorax, Grinch,
Interesting.
even I
I
think
did not know that, but that makes sense because there weren't like I don't know, like that makes sense because we got I think in 2026 we're getting Cat in the Hat, which is an
animated.
animated movie. Yeah. So that makes sense. Interest wise, I would be okay, listen. What Chainsaw is kind of referencing here is I have a bit on another podcast I do that I just like I hate Jim Carrey's Grinch. I have this like huge hatred towards it. I have a let me pull up the profile. I have a profile here. Or just screw the Grinch. But you know, I was thinking the other day, I was sitting down and I was kind of prepping for this episode and this news came out. I was like, wait, why do I hate this Grinch movie? I actually might kind of like it now. I don't know. Like I feel like I don't really have that anymore. I'd be open to it. Like again, we're in this era of like legacy sequels, you know, reboots and stuff like that. I would be curious what the plot of the movie would be. Like again, it's like there's never been a continuation to a Grinch story, right? Like all three things we have, like the original special, the Jim Carrey one, and the reboot they did at Illumination, they've all been like the same kind of general story, right? It's the same thing. So it's like, what would a sequel to the Grinch look like? Like, what would he do once he loves Christmas? You know what I mean? So that's what I would be most curious about. But we'll see. I guess we'll see.
Son of the Grinch.
Oh, that's really funny. All right, our next big news story. Now, this is something I feel like it almost feels like the end of a chapter in many ways, because this is a topic. Both of these I've talked about in great detail on this show this year. We had two very, very big trailers hit us this week. The first being Superman, and the second one being Karate Kid Legends. Now, I launched this show I launched the show in November of 2022. James Gunn announced his slate for the DCU in January of 2023. So it was just a couple months before that. I've talked about this trailer, this movie, the entirety of the DCU for a very long time now. I'm very excited for that project. Have you seen the Superman trailer, and if so, what is your opinion on it?
The question is, have I seen it? The question is, how many times have I seen this trailer? Because I cannot tell you. I woke up yesterday morning. Well, this whole week has been Superman week for me, and I've just been waiting for this trailer. I think we all have, and I think the team at WB and DC Studios have done the most amazing job at getting us hyped for this trailer, from announcing the trailer on Monday to the poster release to the motion poster to the bits of footage they've been releasing throughout the week, even the interviews of the on-set experience with all the journalists they brought on there. It's just been nonstop, and I think it's just built it up so high that when I was getting ready for this trailer, I'm like, I cannot remember. Yeah, maybe it was the Avengers trailers, No Way Home trailers, where I was this hyped for the trailer, because I was excited for the Deadpool and Wolverine trailer, but I don't think we knew for sure that was dropping on the Super Bowl. And it was one of those situations where I think here it's like, this is the beginning of a new universe. This is the beginning of, what James Gunn has really in store. And I've been loving Creature Commandos. I think it's just been a blast so far. But what is he going to give us with the very first film in the DC universe? And how is the first Superman film, at least the first standalone Superman film in 12 years, going to look? And oh my God, I woke up at 8:30 that morning. I waited. I had the countdown up, and this trailer just met my expectations. It was so good, so exciting. I think everything about it, from David Cornsweet, Rachel Brosnahan, Nicholas Hoult, Nathan Fillion, Eddie Gathegi. I mean, the entire cast, the suits. Because to me, I really love this new Superman suit, and I really love what they're doing with bringing it back to its roots. I feel I'm a fan. I mean, clearly, I'm a fan of Zack Snyder. I'm a fan of Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, but to me, I just really love that we are now in a new era of Superman, and I think that it's an era that a lot of people are excited for, because for a lot of people, they haven't gotten to see Superman, the one that they've wanted to see on movies for quite a long time. I mean, I would say that it's even past our lifetimes, because for many people, there hasn't been a good Superman movie since Superman 2.
Yeah.
Back in the 80s. Like, that is crazy. And I think that this is time. I have high hopes for this film. James Gunn never misses. I think the cast is perfect. I really love that they're including Crypto. And I also love that it's not the last time we'll see Superman, because in the following year we're getting Supergirl. So we'll definitely get more of that Man story and that super family in that thing. And goodness, it was so good. I loved it.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Like, yesterday, I think yesterday is going to be a day I remember just as, like, you know, as a fan for probably the rest of my life. Like, it felt like an event. Like, everyone woke up super early. Everyone, like, did their own reactions. All my friends were talking about it. I went on another podcast last night, talked about it for like 2 hours with people, and it felt like there was an energy that I have not felt. Like, I think, you know, the only comparison I think is like Avengers Endgame and like Force Awakens, but like I wasn't really, you know, like in fandom and stuff back when like Force Awakens came out. Like, that wasn't a huge, you know, thing for me back then. And, you know, Endgame was great, but like this, to me, like, this is the start of a big thing. I've never been there for like the start of a big franchise, right? I've always kind of joined after, right? I didn't start with the MCU when I first started. I wasn't there when the Arrowverse first started. Wasn't there for the DCEU or obviously not Star Wars and all these things. But it was like, again, I launched the show right as it was getting started. I've kind of covered every step of the ways, you know, getting here. And, you know, Creatures obviously gave us a really good episode last night. The like Superman trailer obviously was excellent. And I was kind of left just being like, man, it started. Like, we've waited so long and it's officially launched, and that's really exciting. What was your thoughts on just like the trailer itself? Because I think it's a very unique trailer. Like, it's, you know, there wasn't a title card. You know, like, this was the introduction to everything, to all these characters for really the first time. This is the first proper live action footage. I guess we saw a little bit of Peacemaker season 2, but I feel like the first proper footage for like the like DCU. What do you think of it?
Well, it's funny because when you're talking about like being there for the beginnings of fandoms, I think what's funny about a lot of these fandoms is we didn't know how big they would become. So like, we didn't know how big the Arrowverse would become. We didn't know how big even the DCEU. There was a lot of hype around it, but like, we didn't know that the Snyderverse would become this thing that people would be campaigning for Snyder cuts. And that. We didn't know about the MCU becoming as big as it did, and so on and so forth. And I think what this DCU has that kind of separates it is we now can kind of imagine what this can be. So now we're looking at this with, okay, this can be the next big thing. And in that sense, we're also, I think, comparing it. So I was surprised when I watched this trailer, how like I thought we were going to get, you know, a hopeful Superman, a joyful Superman, but the trailer begins with him in the snow, bleeding, coughing up blood, and I was like, wow, this is not what I expected. And I think that is what I would say the entire tone of the trailer is, because even though, you know, as I said earlier, it was what I expected in terms of like how it delivered and how I loved what I saw, I think that it's really a trailer that is bringing us back to what we kind of think of when we think of Superman, the nostalgia of the theme, because I love the use of this John Williams score in this trailer, from the like the 80s guitar riff you hear at the beginning to the orchestral upbeat part of the last half of the trailer. I love seeing the children in this trailer either being saved by Superman or calling out to Superman. For me, one of the things that I love about superhero movies is when you see the superheroes' effect on the city or the people living there. And I think that is one of the reasons why the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies are some of my favorite Spider-Man, or some of my favorite comic book movies. I think that for this trailer we see, that's going to be at the forefront. We're going to see him saving kids. We're going to see him having this impression. But yeah, like it was darker than I imagined it to be, I will say, like especially like the way he's fighting a bunch of characters. And I also thought that they did a great job with like the Lois and Clark relationship in this trailer, because you get to kind of see her with him, but there's no dialogue there. So we don't know how it's going to be, but their relationship is key. And I think without even looking at the dialogue, I think their chemistry is fantastic.
Yeah.
That's something that a lot of people have issue with when it comes to Lois and Clark. I think Superman and Lois did a great job. The animated series did a great, and the Superman and Lois live action series did a great job. The animated series, My Adventures with Superman, also did a great job.
Yeah.
That's where we get to see the best incarnations of Superman, when we get that relationship with him and Lois.
Yep.
So I'm really glad to see that in this trailer, and that being like one of the the most important parts, because whether you see them flying together, holding each other's hands, and it's gonna be like, I feel, the first time in many years where we actually get Lois Lane interviewing Superman for the Daily Planet, and I think that's gonna be great. I think that's gonna be great to see.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I loved so many like facets of this trailer. Like Lois to me is sometimes, if not just as important as Superman to me in these Superman stories. Like they are, to me, they are a piece. Like they are one in, they are one in the same. There's been some adaptations that have tried to be like, oh, but we'll put him with this person instead. I was like, I don't know, like, call me lame, but it was like, I think those two are just, they have to be done right together. And I think just off the bat, I love it. I love Nicholas Hoult as Lex. Like I already believe that man and what he's going to be doing. It is a very darker look than I was expecting, but I think they were kind of able to show the hopefulness of Superman kind of in a different way, where it's like, he's not just hopeful when things are okay, he's hopeful when things aren't going too well for him. He's hopeful when the world's out to get him. Obviously the Crypto was a bit of a controversy a couple months ago, where it's like, oh, I don't want this kind of dog, I want to blah blah blah. And I was like, I'm already in love with Crypto. I can't wait to get more of Crypto. I love it. Again, it felt like an event. It felt like this massive thing. Yeah, and I want the movie. We're 7 months away at this point, and I need it immediately. July cannot come soon enough. Absolutely.
It's funny, you say event, and I think that's another thing that surprised me about this trailer, because they don't have the title Superman at the end of this trailer.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's so cool, because it feels like obviously this is a Superman movie, but we're at a stage in time where, people know what this is without us telling them. Like it could be, and it's called Superman though. Like it's not like it's called Superman Triumphant, so that they would have to put people there. But it's called Superman, and we know it's Superman, so we don't need to put the title. It's so cool. And I think what's also funny is the movie itself occupies this space where he is like a hero in a world with all these other heroes being around him. And I think that is kind of a meta commentary on our own state of superhero movies now, because we're so he came out at a time in 1978 when there weren't superhero movies every month or every other month, and now there are. So how does Superman exist in this time, and how does he
Mm,
set himself different? And it's through hope. It's through him being better than you want people to be. It's like, I think that is going to change kind of how we see these movies going forward. I think that we're getting back to this character that we love. Like, he's my
yeah.
third favorite superhero behind Batman and Spider-Man, but like, I cannot wait. Like, it's going to be, I think it's going to be even bigger than people thought it was like a year ago, because I think the
Yeah.
marketing right now is really, propping this up as one of the
Yeah.
biggest films of the year.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Like, I've had a lot of concern about like the box office wise and how it's going to do, and like mainly just because July is insane for movies like Fantastic Four and Jurassic World and Smurfs and a couple other things. Like, it's a huge month, and so there is a concern, especially when you put in the context of like, if this doesn't do well, we could be looking at no more DC movies or no more DC movies as we see them. But the marketing this week alone, and I would argue in the entirety, like, I actually think James Gunn has done such a good job at giving us something for like the like DCU, like every week or let's say every other week. He's giving us small little tidbits. He's having these conversations with people. He's keeping this franchise where there was only one movie to come out this year and it wasn't a very good movie or what most people would dub a good movie. People are still talking about DC all year, and this week having a teaser trailer be one of the most liked posters of all time on like Twitter. Like, I'm pretty sure it got more likes on social media than any other poster has ever got. And then having a teaser trailer for the teaser trailer, and that being number one on trending on YouTube, and then this trailer, going past a lot of these modern like MCU movies or big comic book movies. I think there is more of an interest than I thought there would be, because I know there's a lot of discourse online about, oh, Superman's boring, oh, I don't care about Superman, but I do think there is a curiosity in this, being
Yeah.
like, okay, this is something new, okay, this is something fresh, and if people stay for the DCU, I do think people might want to tune in and be like, okay, let's see what this thing is,
Yeah.
let's see what James Gunn is cooking, and I think again, I think it's very smart to put that music in here. Like, I want him to have his own score. I want him to have his own individual music. But I think it's smart marketing wise, having that music that you recognize. Like, even if you don't know Superman, you know that music. Like, you can
Yeah.
recognize it. You're like, oh, okay, yes, I do remember this.
Hmm.
So, very exciting. I probably should have started with the other one because I know it's slightly less exciting than the Superman one. But we also had the Karate Kid Legends trailer. Are you a Karate Kid fan? Are you like a Cobra Kai fan? Are you a fan of that franchise?
You bet I am. I mean, so Karate Kid, of course, as a kid, I watched the first film. I then watched the Jaden Smith film, but it wasn't until Cobra Kai came out that I then went back and watched the other Karate Kid movies.
Gotcha.
And I love Cobra Kai. I actually watched it on YouTube Red when it first came out, but that was like when it was free, because it had if you had YouTube, you could watch the first 2 episodes of Cobra Kai for free on YouTube Red, and
Wow.
then like you had to pay for the service. I was like, I'm not paying, for this service. And Netflix came around and they took the rights, so then I watched it there, and it's become my family's like favorite show. It's the one show that my
Yeah.
family can go and watch. Like my dad doesn't watch much TV. Like, he'll watch maybe 2 or 3 shows. And that is one of them that he will sit down, he will watch, he'll be
Hmm.
like, oh, I can't wait to see what Johnny is up to tonight, or I can't wait to see what they do against Terry Silver. Like, it's so good. And at first, when this movie was announced, I was unsure, because
No.
like it felt very much like they were riding off of the high of the show,
Hmm.
and they weren't I felt like they were going to cancel the show, and then they were going to just make this movie, disregard the show, and do what they wanted. And I think that when they announced Jackie Chan to return, that was something that I didn't see coming, because I thought it was
Yeah.
just going to be, Daniel. And then, like, I feel I grew into it more, because then they announced that this movie will take place after Cobra Kai, so the events of
Yep.
Cobra Kai are canon. And the actor they cast to play the young kid, Ben Wang, who is from a great show I watched on Disney Plus called American Born Chinese that
Yeah.
not many people watch, but I thought it was a fantastic series. And I was so happy to hear he got cast. And I was really looking forward to seeing this trailer. And man, it did not disappoint, because this trailer, I think it, like, we're talking about how like the Superman trailer was a little bit darker than I expected it to be. I also thought this trailer was more like, this felt like a gritty version of Karate Kid, and I was like watching like both Jackie Chan and Ralph Macchio fighting in like these, I don't know where they were, underground fighting arenas and stuff, and I was like, oh, this is good. And then when, what was his name? Jackie Chan's character, was it Han?
Mr. Han, I think. Yeah.
He says like, I need you to teach me like Miyagi taught you. I thought was really exciting, and it just, oh my goodness, I loved it. I thought that this movie, yeah, obviously Superman took its shine away, but
Yeah.
I think that it's gonna be another big summer movie, because I do think that Cobra Kai is only going to, you know, add to the excitement around this, especially if Cobra Kai ends well. Because so far, I don't know if you've watched have you watched Cobra Kai?
I have. I adore Cobra Kai.
So are you caught? Like, are you caught up?
I am. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So in the the last act, or the last part they released, I thought it ended really good.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see how they finish it. And man, ooh, it's a great show. It's really
This final season is like an experience that, or like a feeling for a season I've never had before. Because I had some issues with the season. There was some character stuff. I was like, all right, I don't love everything they're doing with a lot of these things. But when it hits, it is some of the coolest television I've ever seen in my whole life. Like, I cannot believe some of the things they did in the season. And yeah, no, I shared the same sentiment. Like, when this announced, I was like, whoa, what are you doing? Like especially as they described it as going back to the basics. I was like, I don't like that. Like to me, I was very scared they're gonna make Cobra Kai non-canon. They were gonna like disconnect themselves. They were gonna do all these things, and then, you know, us hearing that they got the writers for Cobra Kai in to look at all the scripts, to give notes, do all these things. They dubbed it as the like Miyagi-verse, which, as silly as it sounds, I am happy that it's all kind of under one umbrella. It's all under one universe. They've acknowledged it, and they're going to be. It takes place 3 years after Cobra Kai, so there is a continuity that we're doing, and that I think makes it even more exciting, because it's like, it's not like, oh, that sucked. Okay, now we're going to do our own thing. It's like, no. This is just an extension of what you already love. We're going to continue the character of Daniel in his journey, hopefully from Cobra Kai, and then be like, okay, now what comes next for him? What's his next journey going to be looking like? And I think that's very exciting. I agree. It looks like easily the darkest thing in Cobra Kai right now. Like, it's a very, like, again, like it is a little whiplash, like comparatively to Cobra Kai, because Cobra Kai, and this is not a negativity, it's a very silly show. It's a very goofy show at times. It's very fun. It's very, hyper, which is what I love about it. And this was like, oh my gosh, no, it feels very dark. It feels very serious. There feels like there are really high stakes. These fighters feel very experienced on another level than we've seen, which is funny because we just did the like Seikai Taikai, which is supposed to be like the best fighters in the entire world, but somehow these guys, like, oh my gosh, like he's like when he jumped off of the like rooftop and kicked the guy like on the building, I was like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. This is insane.
Very much like a Spider-Man action sequence.
Yeah.
In the Amazing Spider-Man 1, I think a similar type of, chase happens. I'll say that one thing about just like Cobra Kai itself, the Cobra Kai series has been about the legacy of Miyagi, like how all these characters are somewhat connected, and the creators of Cobra Kai said they never are going to bring in Jackie Chan or Jaden Smith because that wasn't tied into Miyagi.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that I've been hoping that they do in Cobra Kai is bring in Hilary Swank as
That's
Julie,
what I want too.
the
Yeah.
next Karate Kid.
Yeah.
And like, I feel like it's too early to say, but I do feel like if she doesn't show up in by the end of the series, I feel like that is like a missed opportunity because
Mm-hmm.
had this show be all about the legacy and like she's the one add like last piece of the puzzle. That being
Yeah.
said, I do feel like with this movie, I feel like it does open the door for, say, another sequel to this where they do bring Julie in.
Yeah.
Maybe that will be what happens. And you know what? If that does occur, I think that will be great because I do think
Mhm.
I would love to see Hilary Swank return and for her to meet Daniel because I feel like
Yeah.
many Karate Kid fans have wanted to see that for decades. Like the
Yeah.
two students of Miyagi. Ooh, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. You know?
Yeah, that honestly, they might save that for even the movie, just to be like, because that is a big thing to have the like, as much as I wanted in Cobra Kai, and like that's the last character I think Cobra Kai hasn't brought in from like the first three movies, but like they could be like, okay, these two students of Miyagi unlocking some secret that he had or something, doing something, whatever. I'm also curious because I do think this movie might set up the Mr. Miyagi movie, or I'm sorry, series that we've heard about, like the like creators of Cobra Kai said they wanted, like they've been thinking about or wanting to do like a Mr. Miyagi prequel or something. So I could see, especially what we're doing with Cobra Kai at the moment, with like his past and his history and whatnot. I could definitely see that being a thing.
You know,
Um,
I'll say I do not want to see a Mr. Miyagi series.
okay, that's fair. That's
I
fair.
feel like that is when I heard that news, I was like,
I'm very weary about it. Like
"Yeah."
I have my concerns for sure.
And I'll be honest, I didn't care for how they like used they had
The
Pat
AI,
Morita's
yeah,
face and they like I did not
yeah,
like that use in the last season. I thought
yeah,
that was very in poor taste. Like I understand like
yeah.
people like obviously, Ralph Macchio knew him and was his friend and all, but like they had another actor playing him.
Yeah,
They didn't need to
I
do that.
agree.
So
I agree.
yeah, but like I don't know. I mean, maybe the series will be good. You never say never. Like
Right.
I didn't realize how good Peacemaker was gonna be. And then it came
Right.
out. It was great. So, so I'll be curious to see it. But right now I'm like I don't know if I want to see this show. I want to see something else. I feel, but.
Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely very concerned. Like again, like Mr. Miyagi's one of those characters. I'm like, I feel like I'm very similar to like Daniel. I was like, no, he's this sacred little baby. Don't touch him. But honestly, I do kind of like the idea of what this season. I mean, like he killed a man, what? And kind of like this, like he was a great man, but he had to earn it, or he had to get there. Like he had to kind of learn his own way. And I do think what we're building towards is like, yes, this did happen to him, and that's what kind of imprinted him to become such a great man that Daniel knew, kind of thing. Which again could be bad. Like again, if they don't do it amazingly, it could like tarnish the character. But I don't know. I think I trust those Cobra Kai writers enough where if they think they could do it justice, and obviously have a very different tone to a show like that. Like it can't be the same tone as Cobra Kai. It's a very different show. We'll see. Okay, I do have one final news story here, and I kind of just combined two of the news stories this week. I think because of Superman, they both kind of went under the rug a little bit. Not a people have been talking about it. Some sequels were seemingly announced over at Variety. Both Black Panther 3 and Sonic the Hedgehog 4 are seemingly in the works. Now, let's talk about Sonic 4 first, because that's the most recent. Obviously, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 has just hit theaters. They're very confident. It seemingly is already doing well. I talked a couple weeks ago how they are going to be setting up some things in Sonic 3 that will set up a Sonic 4. Have you seen Sonic 3 yet? What's your opinion on a potential fourth movie? Are you excited for that?
I watched Sonic 3 last night. Now,
Okay.
I did grow up, watching Sonic X. I had the game. I think it was Sonic Heroes, and I was a fan of Sonic. But like I never quite, stayed with the lore of Sonic throughout the years, and
Sure.
um, when the movies came out, I liked the first film. I liked the second one. They could have been better, but the third movie for me is the first one I didn't like.
Whoa. Okay. Interesting.
I feel like I'm in the minority on that right now because I know a lot of people are really enjoying it, but I like I'm watching it and this happened like because it's the day the Superman trailer drops, and I'm like, oh, this Superman movie it looks so good. It looks like there's so much, behind this story and so much emotion and stuff. And Sonic the Hedgehog 3 for me, I just couldn't connect with it. Like I felt like the characters were kind of just predictably written. They were not as interesting besides like the effects itself. And honestly, I thought Jim Carrey for me, he didn't really make me laugh too much in this movie. I didn't really care for a lot of the jokes in the film, so I walked out pretty disappointed. Now, that being said, I did like Shadow in the movie. I thought Shadow was fantastic. So, Sonic 4, I don't know. Like, I'll probably see it. But like, it's definitely one of those franchises where I think kids right now, that's going to be their franchise. That's going to be like,
right.
They get older and they have their YouTube channels and they have their talks. And they're going to say like, oh, those Sonic movies, they were my childhood, man.
They're my peak. Yeah.
And that's great. Like I can imagine like as a kid, I probably would have loved these too, but like, I don't know. Like, it's just, I'm not too into it now. I'm like, you know what?
That's fair.
Good, but I think the hardcore Sonic fans will definitely enjoy these.
Love it, yeah.
That's the point of them. They're for the fans. You don't really see that a lot in Hollywood. A lot of the times they make these movies and like they'll do something that'll completely change the character and completely change everything about it, and then it'll be in the Hunter, and you'll have the Sonyverse. But here it's great to see. I just wish it was better written and
okay.
But Sonic 4, I can see it happening, and I'm curious. Are you looking forward to it?
Yeah, I mean, okay, yeah, I mean, I haven't seen Sonic 3 yet. It's it's one of those things where I want to go with a friend, but holiday seasons make that tough. So I'll probably see it after the holidays hit. Holiday movies, I'm actually never a big fan when movies hit around the holidays. I'm like, let those people go home to their families. I don't love it. I've been very excited, but I'm kind of with you. I don't love the first two Sonic movies. Like, I think one is like, I was very disappointed when I walked out of one because one was just like E.T. but with Sonic, and I was like, all right, this is fine, I guess. I thought 2 was really good, but like has like bad mixed in it for me. I was like, this is good when it's good, and then when it's bad, it's like bad. But I've been excited for this one because again, like it looked like less of what I didn't like and more of what I did, so that excited me. So I'm excited to check it out. It looks like a lot of fun. It seems like, again, it looks like they're having fun making these movies. Like, I think the first one came out 2019?
2020.
So 2020. So that means
one of the last movies that came out before COVID.
That's right. So I think because they said this would be 2027. So 4 movies in the gap of 4 or 7 years is a really good track record. Like, they got really lucky in between a COVID, in between a writer's strike, in between all this stuff, and they got potentially 4 movies. Unless something crazy happens from now and then that interrupts it. I hope not. But I think they've had a good track record. I'm excited for this. I'm open. Like, again, Sonic's a franchise. There's a lot of characters. There's a lot of stories. It'd be a shame if they stopped at 3. So no problem with them doing 4 and 5 and 6 and spin-offs and whatever the heck you wanted. I
want you to keep in mind, though, this is like, I thought about this when I was watching Sonic 3.
Okay.
There have been 3 Sonic films since they announced that Mahershala Ali was going to play Blade in the MCU.
God damn it, Blade.
3, an entire trilogy, and quite possibly 4 before we get to see Mahershala Ali in a Blade movie. I
You know
need
what?
to.
It probably is going to be 4 because I don't think they're doing Blade until after Secret Wars at this point. So you're right. It probably will be after Sonic 4.
Yeah, I mean, if you ask me though, like it, these movies do make sense, like how fast they were put out. Like
Fast.
I can kind of, especially with like it being more heavily on like VFX characters and stuff. Like characters are
Hmm.
in a camp or characters are in these secluded rooms. Like it doesn't. Like I can understand how they could maybe put
Right.
it so fast, but like still, it's still
It's very
mind-boggling.
funny.
It's
Yeah.
crazy.
And speaking of Blade, it's not Blade, but same franchise, Black Panther 3. Now again, this is something I talked about a couple weeks ago. We had heard, oh, potential major actors connected to this movie, and he kind of spilled the beans on some things. I'm not surprised by this at all. Like, I think Black Panther 3 is one of those franchises where, like, yeah, of course it's going to get a third one. It's just a matter of when, and where it fits to, like, the grand scale of everything. Are you down for another Black Panther movie? Where do you think this thing's going to, like, fit in the grand scope of the MCU right now?
So this is interesting. First off, usually when it comes to like sequels being announced or whatever, I usually like kind of wait for them to
That's fair.
reveal
Yeah.
late, right? Because
Right. Right.
I feel like they announced Shang-Chi 2 in 2002. Like
Mhm.
that's how long ago it feels when they reported that I think what was it, Destin Daniel Cretton was coming back
Yeah.
for Shang-Chi 2, and so far we've heard no word on that
Yeah.
film. So I think they are making
Yeah.
Black Panther 3, and I think
Yeah. You
we're
have
going
to.
to get it. But the question is, because you asked, like, what are they going to do with a Black
Right.
Panther 3? Because I personally am very excited for. I love the world of Black Panther. He is one of my favorite. T'Challa is one of my favorite comic book characters. Um, but I will say, and like if you asked me back in like 2022 when this was coming out, I was like the recast T'Challa movement and all that was going on, and I was personally of the belief that I trust I trust these filmmakers, and I respect their decision not to recast, T'Challa because they knew him, they were his friend, they didn't want to do that. I personally think the time has passed, and I
Hmm.
think that I want to see T'Challa return.
Hmm.
Obviously, like people don't want it, but like it could be another universe T'Challa that comes into the mix. But I don't know how they will do it because if they don't go that route, if they don't recast T'Challa, um, I guess the little T'Challa in Wakanda Forever will be a bit older, and I guess it will be about him being trained. But
Yeah.
there's Shuri there. But then again, would this come out before or after
Secret Wars.
Secret Wars? And
Yeah.
in this case, I personally think like the MCU is going to be completely changed, kind of like what happened with Crisis
I
on
agree.
Earths.
Yeah.
So like, I do feel like would a Black Panther 3 just be like a reboot of the franchise itself,
Mhm.
and you will have a new T'Challa,
Sure.
but then you also want it to be like a closeout of a trilogy, and there's the stuff with Namor that was kind of left.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know where they're gonna go. So that's the question. That's the question.
Yeah, no, I definitely get the like interest of wanting that character back because that is such an important character to so many people. I've kind of been under the opinion that like okay, I was okay with any decision they went with. Like if the cast and crew thought they wanted to recast and that would what would have been most respectful, do that. If they didn't want to do that, I also thought that was a good choice. Like I do really like Shuri, and I actually loved Black Panther too. I think that's a really
I
good
loved
movie.
it. Yeah, it was so
I
good.
think it's phenomenal. I do think if you're going to do something like that, Secret Wars is the time to do it because again, that is your reboot point. That is your time to recast anyone if you want. That is to do whatever. I've had a theory for a while though that like instead of bringing back T'Challa, you age up his son in that event, right? So maybe now in the new reality timeline thing, he's now 18 or whatever, and now he's able to kind of pick up the mantle in a way. Again, timeline wise, I don't know how that would work out, but I could see a scenario. I also just don't like the idea though of also giving this big mantle to Shuri just to take it away instantly, right? I do think she deserves to have it for a little while. So I do hope it's still her in Black Panther 3. And then maybe after that, if you want to pass it again, maybe you can do that. But again, that's a big question. Is it pre-Secret Wars? Is it post-Secret Wars? Because those are going to be two different movies, if so. I think it's most likely post, because I think there's only probably one unknown movie spot for the MCU that we're going to get before Secret Wars at this point. I think it's early 2026 is a spot that we don't know about. And do you want to waste one of those spots on Black Panther is the thing.
Yeah.
I feel like Black Panther is very isolated in its storytelling. I feel like it kind of exists on its own sometimes. It could be, but I would think maybe more of a Thor or a Doctor Strange 3 or even a Shang-Chi 2 or whatever to build yourself up to Secret Wars. I also thought about it today where I was it would be kind of cool if the first project in the Mutant Saga was Black Panther 3, and they did finally use that to bring in Storm, because she's sometimes connected to those Black Panther stories. That would be a fun way to not immediately be, okay, it's an X-Men movie, guys, it's X-Men, but slowly introduce some of those characters via what we already know. I think could be kind of cool. But yeah, I don't know. I'm very happy for more Black Panther. I love those stories. I know we're getting that Black Panther series this year, so I'm excited to see what they do with that.
I think that Shuri will, obviously will definitely be in both Avengers films.
I agree. Yeah,
that's because I think now it's kind of funny how she's kind of following in the footsteps of T'Challa from Phase 3, because when T'Challa was introduced, he got his movies and he got his Black Panther, and then he showed up in both of the Avengers films. I think that's what we're going to see with Shuri in both Doomsday and Secret Wars. So I think that's what we're going to see. I'm very curious what they do, because I do think that they'll want to keep it connected to the first two to close out the trilogy, and I have no doubt in my mind it will be Ryan Coogler that does this.
Yes, absolutely.
I don't see it being anyone else. I think they're going to wait for him to be ready with the script, because obviously he wants Denzel to be in it. So yeah, I think it's going to be great though, whatever they do, because the first two movies are some of, I think, the best MCU films, and I think that this one, there's no doubt in my mind, this will also be really good.
Yeah, no, I think they're going again. I think this is a franchise that actually, and I know we have to move on here, but I think has had the biggest success rate in the MCU, outside of maybe the Guardians, because it's okay, Black Panther really good, Black Panther 2 really good. They have big involvements in both Infinity War and Endgame, which are both regarded as really good movies. They're also in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which I think is one of the better Disney Plus shows. So I think we have that show coming out this year. I think that's also Ryan Coogler who did it, so I have no doubt that that's going to be at least a solid show. So yeah, no, I think there's and again, I think Denzel kind of joining the cast, I think kind of proves that a little bit, being he doesn't just join any movie, I feel there's a respect to Black Panther that has been earned. Yeah. So I think that's all really good. Okay, we do need to hop into these Christmas or these holiday movies here. So I asked you to give me 5 of your favorite holiday movies, favorite movies that kind of surround this time of year. And I also have picked 5, and we're going to go through and we're going to talk about some of these. And your first pick was a movie I have not thought about in a long time. I kind of forgot about this movie, and that is Jack Frost with Michael Keaton. Oh my gosh, what a sad movie. Tell me about Jack Frost.
So believe it or not, Jack Frost is technically the first film I ever watched in theaters.
Whoa.
And I say that because I was not born yet, Darren, when this film came out.
Oh,
My mom
amazing.
pregnant with me. I don't know how many months it was, but she sat in the very same theater that, I've gone to ever since I was
Aw.
3 years old, and she watched this movie with my dad. And it will always have a special place in my heart, especially like there's a sequence where they play Stevie Nicks' Landslide that like my mom and I, ever since I was a kid, whenever it would come on the radio, we'd be like, that's the song from Jack Frost, and we'd always sing it. And like that is, some of my memories. But like this movie itself was such a sweet movie, a sad movie, but one that I think in terms of the holiday season really rang true. And some people think of Michael Keaton, or some people think of Batman when they think of Michael Keaton. They think of, Beetlejuice when they think of Michael Keaton. They think of Birdman when they think of Michael Keaton. I think of Michael Keaton, and I think of Jack Frost. And I mean, what's also funny is this movie had Mark Addy in it, who some people will know as King Robert Baratheon in Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
And I think it's funny because when I saw him in that, probably I was the one person that watched that and was like, oh my God, that's Mac from Jack Frost. And I love it. And Kelly Preston. It's such a beautiful movie. I actually watched it again the other day on TV. It was on, and it's been a while since I'd seen it. And I think, oh boy, have you seen it? Have you seen it?
I have. My mom showed it to me when I was young, and I remember putting it in on the like VHS, and it's a sad one, man. Like it's been many, many years for me, but it is one that kind of sticks in your brain as like, oh yeah, that's the like sad Christmas movie. That's the one you put on if you want to cry for a bit. And I have a very much oh, do you have it right there? Oh hell yeah. Amazing. That's like I have the sequence in my head when he's like on the skis and he's going down the mountain trying to catch his son with the bullies, and like that's an image that is very deep in my brain. Like I feel like I remember that a lot. And then I remember watching it in school and like all my classmates were hating it. I was like, I don't know, I think it's pretty good. I think it's fun.
Well, they must have some real cold hearts.
Narado in the chat says the greatest Christmas movie is Die Hard. We have another Die Hard in the chat. We love it. We said early on that it was a Christmas movie, so shout out to Die Hard. I still have not seen more than the first one. I literally a couple years ago, I was like, I'm going to put this on because people say it's the greatest Christmas movie ever, and I never watched the rest of them. I was like, this is good, but I never...
I've seen
like 5 of them, right?
Yeah, I've seen like... I saw the first 3. The 4th one, I've seen like half of it, and I never saw the 5th one, but I definitely got to finish watching them. Actually, the 2nd one is my favorite. I love the 2nd
Oh, wow.
one. Yeah.
Okay, I'll have to... One of these Christmases, I'll binge all 5 or something. All right, my first pick here, and this is kind of my 5th choice out of my 5 that I picked, and that is Arthur's Christmas. Now, this is one of those movies for many years where, like, I would say, there's not that many good Christmas movies. There's not that many good ones. I think Arthur's Christmas is one I was like, but Arthur's Christmas is pretty good. Have you seen this one?
No, but is this, I don't know if you know this, but is this one of those movies where, like, they would say, this movie's coming out this year, and then, like, they pushed it to, like, another year or, like, 2 years? Because it vaguely reminds me of one of these movies that I saw the trailer of, and then like a year later they showed the trailer again. I was like, this movie didn't come out? And I think they've done this with a number of Christmas movies too. That they always want.
This movie's. I'm gonna look up the date really quick. Yeah, it came out in 2011, so it's not old, but it's been 10 plus years. What, almost 15 years at this point. No, I mean I really love this movie because I think it really kind of elevates itself, because again, I feel like a lot of times with Christmas movies, it's like, oh, run of the mill animated thing for the slap for the kids.
Uh-huh.
And this movie, it really like thrives itself on like these really a very character driven story. It is a story about Santa Claus, but like what makes this one interesting is Santa Claus is a mantle. So you know, our main character Arthur, his dad was Santa, and then his father was Santa, and then his father was Santa. And this is a story about how Santa is afraid to pass on the mantle. There
Yeah.
is there's a story about acceptance, and a character being like, I'm not ready to give up who I am, who I've been my whole life, and like, what am I without Santa Claus? And there's an idea of that, and there is a story um about like accepting the new age technology or keeping it the old fashioned ways, and like they're like each Santa and like each generation of this movie kind of has their own ideal, like their own ideal of what is Christmas and like what does it mean to be Santa. And I think it dives into some really interesting aspects of the character that we simply have not seen. And kind of the whole plot of the movie is like, you know, they do the whole Christmas thing, all the kids get their presents, but there's one kid that got left out. There's this one kid that didn't get their present, and the whole journey is the youngest son and the oldest Santa going to get this one kid their present, for they don't feel like they're alone on Christmas, kind of thing. And it's like a weirdly good movie. Like it's a movie where you sit down and you're like, it didn't have to be as good as you just made it be. Like, I think the animation is gorgeous, the characters are really fun and spunky. And it's one I put on every couple of years, and I'm like, yeah, that's a solid Christmas movie. That's not one of like the like slop that you typically see. Not exactly, but kind of a similar. I guess it's kind of similar how they like pass the mantle down from person to person. But I guess it's more like a king, where it's like, oh, I'm passing it down to my son. I'm passing it down to my grandson, kind of thing. All right, we can move on to our next one. Your next pick was, oh, speaking of the Santa Claus, Tim Allen classic. He had a whole trilogy. He recently got 2 seasons of a TV show. What's your thoughts on this movie?
Yeah, this is one of the, you know, like we all have those movies we watched as a kid that, you know, and like this is one of them where I watched it as a kid and I was like,
Yeah.
what's this about, you know? And then when I see Santa dies in this movie, I was like, oh my god. And I loved it. Like, it was one that I loved, and I saw sequel, and I saw the third one in theaters when it came out.
Wow.
But believe it or not, I actually rewatched the trilogy to prepare for the TV show they put out. One of the worst TV shows I've ever seen. I think I got like 3 or 4 episodes in, I just gave up. I was like, this is terrible. And it was funny because, you know, like sometimes you do a rewatch and then it's like a bad movie. Like, say it's a sequel and you're watching like the first 3 and then you see the next one as a bad movie. But I'm so grateful I did the rewatch because I was able to revisit this one. And I was like, I really love this movie. So
yeah,
thank you for, if anything the Santa Claus show did, which is not much, but if anything it did was to get me to rewatch these, I was very happy that I could watch this one. So
I completely agree. I loved this trilogy when I was a kid. It was for a while I dubbed it as one of, if not my favorite Christmas movie. I think it's such a fun twist on the like genre. I think it has such fun comedy. It has such fun world building. It's a very strange movie when you really look at like the whole like, oh yeah, Santa dies at the start of the movie. That's crazy how they really brush past it. And I don't know if I've been other single person who's actually watched the show. I unfortunately watched both seasons of this series. I made the mistake of like, you know, there's some shows I watch with my parents, or, you know, I put on with my mom, and it's like, well, I can't stop it once I involve my mom into it. I can't just be like, all right, mom, I'm gonna put the show now. Like, I had to commit to it. It's bad. Like, you said you said that you only got 4 episodes in, right?
Yeah, I think so. It might have been less.
Season 2 is even worse. Season 2.
Did they cancel it? They canceled it.
You know what? I don't think it was ever like officially canceled, but I don't. I haven't
That
seen
means,
like
that means you gotta watch season 3.
I don't know. I hope they're just like quietly, or if not canceling it, they're just done. Like they're just not going to do more. Yeah, no, it's pretty bad. And like season 2 brought in like a very iconic character from the movies. They brought in like no, season 1 did that, and that was the one good episode. The Bernard episode. I was like, oh, he's back, and then he goes away instantly. I was like, oh, that sucks. It's kind of tough because season 2 does like there's like a weird amount of world building. Like they go into like the lore of Santa Claus, and there's like all the Santa Claus throughout history. There's like this caveman Santa Claus that ends up being like the villain of the season. He comes back and he's like, no, I want to be Santa Claus again, and he's the villain of the second season. It's like this is rough. this is really rough. Yeah, no, I definitely don't recommend. Just rewatch the movies, rewatch the trilogy again. They're fun. They're whatever. All right. All right. Next we have. This was one of them I wasn't sure if I wanted to bring on because I know it's not. I don't know if it's like technically a movie, but that's Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas. This is one for me that I watch almost every Christmas, no matter what. Like this is a movie that's on like I don't know if you've seen it or not, but it's been on. Like it feels like every Christmas party I've ever gone to, all my family were putting on the tree, all the whatever. It's like a series of like 3 different stories within, like the Mickey Mouse world. As silly as that sounds, but it's kind of been a tradition for me. So obviously, like the one of them is, and they're kind of based on stories you've kind of already seen. Like one is Huey, Dewey, and Louie, and it's kind of based on the like. What if Christmas was every day, or like a Groundhog Day thing where every day they wake up and it's Christmas Day and like they learn the morals of Christmas. And there's one about Goofy and Max and like they learn the morals of Christmas. And then there's the Mickey and Minnie one at the end, which is like I don't remember the name of the story, but it's the story about like blank sold his blank to get his girlfriend blank, and then she sewed her blank to get him the blank, right? So they both give each other the gifts to get each other what they wanted, right? That's kind of the story. And you know what? I don't even have much to say about this one, but honestly, I feel like if you guys have not seen it, it's a really fun kind of Christmas tradition. It's one that again is on my household year after year. I don't know. It's just kind of fun.
I will say that I didn't put it in there because I'm not even sure if it's like an actual movie, but more of like a TV movie thing.
Special, yeah.
Like I love the Rugrats Hanukkah special they did. I'm not even sure right now if it is like I think it's more like an episode, but like
right.
I'm not sure. But that was one definitely. It's always fun to see like the animated characters, celebrate something. Obviously, you have Charlie Brown. Obviously, you have like
Snoopy, yeah.
A number of these other ones, but that's and then like you have like the Shreks, like the Shrek. I love the Shrek Christmas.
Shrek the Halls, yeah.
Shrek the Halls, yeah. It's so weird because it came out like right after Shrek the Third, so it was like in a way Shrek 3.5. So, yeah, but those are always fun.
Yeah, they're always fun. There's so many I actually feel like I end up watching more like holiday themed episodes more than I do like actual movies. Like I just like okay, because again I associate things more with TV than I do movies, so it's cool to see these characters you've been following kind of get to have that feeling of the holidays and stuff like that. Okay, our next pick here is Jingle All the Way. This is your 3rd pick on this roster. Man, what an iconic movie. What's your thoughts on Jingle All the Way?
It's see, for me, like as a kid, and I mean, still now, I love toys, and like I always saw this movie as a great representation of, you wanting to get a toy for the holidays, and I think I haven't seen this film since I was like maybe 9 years old. I used to watch it all the time, so it's been a while. I'm very curious to see how it holds up today because I feel like I could maybe identify more with the adults than I do the kids. And I think it's funny too because like Jake Lloyd from Star Wars Episode 1 The Phantom Menace as Anakin Skywalker, he was in this, and I believe I saw him in this movie first before I saw him in Phantom Menace. And maybe that's why like his performance always like there was this sense of like familiarity to me because I was like I didn't know at the time, but like that's the same kid from Jingle All the Way and like Turbo Man, like the fact that he has like it's I mean it's such a wacky movie that you kind of like I kind of wish they made more of movies like that these days.
Mm.
Like I saw Red One the other week or so, and I just thought that was terrible. And in a way, that movie has some things that you could be like, oh, it's similar to this in a way, but like, nah, it's nothing's like Jingle All the Way to me. And it was one of my
Yeah.
favorite Arnold. It's one of my favorite Arnold movies because it's such a funny movie. It really.
Mm-hmm. No, it's so much fun. It's so like chaotically crazy, and you're like, what the heck is going on in this movie? But it's so much fun. I saw it very, very young, at a very, very young age. I do remember, and then it was also one of those movies all the time in school that they would start, but that you could never finish because you only had like 30 minutes to start the movie or whatever.
Yeah.
But what I did see, it sucks. What I did see more recently than this is Jingle All the Way 2 with Larry the Cable Guy, the straight to DVD sequel they made.
I don't know what it was with Arnold Schwarzenegger and straight to DVD sequels because they made like Kindergarten Cop 3, level 2, 4. I'm like, it's like, oh my goodness, why?
Yeah, good old Larry the Cable Guy. I haven't seen that guy in a minute. It's crazy. No, this is a fun movie. This is like such a like shut your brain off. Let's see this stupid little action. It's a lot of fun. It's definitely a really good time. Okay, my next pick, and this movie genuinely might be one of my favorite. I don't think it's on my list yet, but it could be one of my favorite films of all time. And that is Miracle on 34th Street, the original one from like the 1940s. And I love this movie a lot. I watched this a couple years ago for the first time. I was like, I'm trying to get through some classic movies. And obviously this movie's been rebooted a couple times, and I've only seen this one. I haven't seen any of the other reboots. I've never seen any of the other things. But have you seen this movie?
No, I have not seen this film, and I know a number of people. Well, one of my friends she really loves. I think is it the John Hughes version, or it's one of the remakes they made. But no, I haven't. I haven't seen this one, and I don't know if you have it on your list. But I also haven't seen It's a Wonderful Life, which these are like the two crime like movies they talk about. So yeah, those are ones I haven't seen, but I've definitely heard a lot of good things about them.
Yeah, no, like the whole kind of plot of this movie is like you have Santa Claus and he's coming in, he's being this like mall Santa, and for whatever reason he ends up, people think that he's insane. You're like, you can't be Santa Claus. You're this crazy old man, and he ends up getting taken to court for it, and he has to convince a group of people that he is really Santa Claus, and that's kind of like the whole plot of the movie. And I think it just, to me, kind of embodies what Christmas is all about. I think this is one of, if not my favorite adaptations, I guess you would call, of Santa, or like takes on the character. I think it's just like, it kind of makes you feel just like, oh, everything's right in the world. This, like, everything is going to be okay. And I think, obviously the actor's good. I think the script is amazing. And I think it's like, I don't know, ever since, again, I haven't brought myself to watch all, like, I think there's like 3 or 4 different versions of it. And, again, very old movie. Definitely, I think the oldest movie I have on my list came out in like, 1942 or something crazy. Like, it's a very old movie at this point. But no, I love it. I kind of think it's a masterpiece. I think it's one of the only movies on here I have at like 5 stars. So yeah. All right, your next pick, and I think your next pick, I could be wrong, we both had picked as in our top 5 Christmas movies, and that is Home Alone.
I'll make a compromise with you. How about you do Home Alone and I do Home Alone too?
Yay!
because for me, like, I didn't know which one to pick. I like both of them. I just went with kind of like the default answer, but like I really love both of those films. I think that well, for Home Alone 1, we all know it's all great and all, but I really love Home Alone 2 because it's like it's such a departure from the
Yeah.
first film because a sequel, it's like I feel like if they made it today, it'd be like, oh, Kevin gets stuck in another house, like it would
Right.
just another. But the fact that they put him in New York City with a hotel, like I think that was a really creative idea for a sequel, and I think it works just as well. I love Tim Curry in the sequel. I didn't remember Rob Schneider was in it until I watched it again the other day. For some reason, I always thought Rosie O'Donnell was in the sequel as like the bird lady, but it wasn't her. It was someone else. But yeah, I love both of those films. And if we're talking about like movies that remind us of our childhood, Home
Mm.
Alone is definitely one of them because I do remember during the holiday season, watching Home Alone on TV and the John Williams score. We are talking about Superman earlier, but the John Williams score for this is just so good.
Yeah, it's so iconic. Yeah. This is a movie I feel like I never really appreciated at a young age because again, I think it was a movie that everyone said this is the Christmas movie. This is the one. This is the most famous. And I think for a while I was like, I don't get it. I don't get the
Yeah,
hype. I don't know. And I feel like the more I watched it and the more I got into it, I was like, you know what? No, I actually do really like this movie, and I think it is it's a classic for a reason. I think like obviously it's such a fun concept, especially as a kid, to be like, yeah, you get to stay home without your parents. There's no rules. There's no like responsibilities. There's no whatever. And it's just, I think it feels like it's kind of written by a child and like what a child kind of envisions to be like a fun, weekend by themselves. And it's like, that element is fun. And obviously it's so iconic, the bit of like him booby trapping his house and stopping the like burglars. And like that is, I feel like no matter how many times you watch that, that is so much fun. And I love the scene with like him in the like church, kind of like praying and being like, I just want my family back. I didn't mean to do this, man. Like just bring them back for the holidays. That's all I want. I think it's so heartwarming. It's so much fun. And I agree. I think it's probably one of the best sequels of all time. I think it's like I kind of feel like they are one large package. Like I think 1 and 2 kind of live together as almost like the same movie or just like a part 1, part 2 situation. They
yeah.
work together so well. Like I think the comedy is really, really good. I think the heart is just there, and it's they've definitely struggled to like try and bringing it back. Like, I feel like every time they've tried to do 3, 4, 5. They recently did a reboot last year. Like they've all kind of, from my understanding, sucked. Like I feel like they've not been able to kind of bring the same energy.
I have this crazy theory, or not theory, but crazy like desire to kind of see what they did with Cobra Kai and do it to the Home Alone franchise.
Mm,
You could essentially like bring back all the kids, but they're older, and maybe they
yeah.
have families and they have kids of their own, and they all like have like I feel like it would be an interesting series because then you could have like every day or every episode being like a day that passes without the parents. And
Mm,
like streaming services, if you need a show, I'd say that could be something in your future. People would watch Macaulay Culkin return, bring Scarlett Johansson back. It's like, because I always like, that's one of those things where Home Alone and Karate Kid were the two franchises where I was like, how did they have like a different kid in these? Like it was like, because I mean, when you watch Batman as a kid, yes, it's a different actor, but like it's still Batman. But
yeah.
when you see a different kid, it would feel like it's a different character, which it was,
Yeah.
and it'd be so odd to watch. I never could understand it, and now like with Karate Kid, seeing Home Alone do it would be really funny. But
Yeah. Yeah. And I also think it's like I think it's a plot that can also only be done so many
times.
without it being kind of like, well, we already saw the plot of this movie. Like again, there's only so many ways you can do it, and I think you make a good point about Home Alone 2 is like it had to fundamentally be so much different. Like they had to up the stakes to the degree where he's in a city he doesn't know, he doesn't have any money, he doesn't know anybody. Like I think they had to up the stakes in that way, and also up the stakes for like the parents being like, oh no, we did it again. How did we do this twice? This is crazy. But yeah, no, I love Home Alone. I think it's great. Jeffrey in the chat. Hello, Jeffrey. Home Alone for sure. John Williams soundtrack always wins. Yes, it's very good soundtrack. I hear the music whenever I have to think about the movie. Okay. Sorry, my slides had shut down, so I'm waiting for I'm stalling while my slides boots back up. But was there any kind of holiday movie that we didn't mention while we're kind of stalling, like on your list that like you really love?
Yeah, I mean, I love, well, not really love, but I like the movie Fred Claus with Vince Vaughn. I thought that was a funny one. I'm trying to think if there are others. It's funny because, like, I feel in a weird way the Harry Potter movies can sometimes be holiday movies because some of the times they do take place in, like, the Christmas season. And you would think about Home Alone, directed by Chris Columbus, music by John Williams. So it's like, that's another film that, when I'm thinking of like the holidays as a kid, I'm like, that's one of those. And then I guess you could say like the Ten Commandments, right? Because the Ten Commandments is one of the ones they would always play on TV.
Sure.
But yeah, those would be some of mine that I would pick.
Amazing. So yeah, my last pick here, my number 5th pick is, I said earlier that I felt like 34th could have been on my favorite film list. This next movie is on my favorite film list. It's one of my favorite animated movies of all time, and that is Klaus over on Netflix. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it's just because I watched it at the right time. I adore this movie. This is one of my all-time favorites. I think they do such a great job at fundamentally shaking up the bottle when it comes to A Christmas Story. They were able to create such a fun and organically original world. Like, the way they are able to tell these stories and, you know, a man that is trying to change. J.K. Simmons, it's weird because J.K. Simmons recently was Santa Claus in the new Red one, right? Yeah, and it was like, yeah, everyone was like, oh, they got J.K. Simmons too? I was like, they did it back in 2019 first. This is actually the second time. And his take on that character is insanely cool, and how, like, a fundamentally different version of that character and how they change up the origins and all these different ways that they're able to tell that story. I am just, you know, amazed by, and I think it has beautiful animation. I think its soundtrack is beautiful. Like, the character journeys to every individual character, I think, is gorgeously beautiful. It's a movie. It's like the one Christmas movie I have to watch every Christmas. It's always on my list. I almost cry every time I watch this movie. Have you seen this one?
No, and you know, it's funny you mention it because I do think I was like, this looks interesting when it was coming out, and I think did it win Best Animated Film, or it was nominated for Best Animated Film?
It was nominated, and I think it lost out to Toy Story 4, which I'm still a little peeved by. I'm like, oh, Toy Story 4. Pixar's at it again, stealing all the Oscars.
So that's definitely one I'd like to check out, because that's one I have not seen for sure. That, you know, I've seen people talk about it and rave it. So I didn't know J.K. Simmons was Santa in there. I wonder if people when Red 1 came out, they were like, oh, is this connected to Klaus?
It's like a prequel movie. Yeah, no. Oh my gosh. Yeah, no. It's a movie. Like, again, it's weird how good it is, because it doesn't have to be as good as it is, but it's like, no, you're up for Best Picture at, like, the Oscars. That's crazy. And again, it's gorgeous, it's beautiful, it's heartwarming. Like, my only kind of complaint about it is, like, there is definitely, like, there's, like, a trope in here that's like, okay, yes, like, every animated movie for a while was doing this exact same trope, and I won't mention the trope, just in case you ever want to watch it. But it's like, okay, you kind of see where that's going. There's templates from other stuff, but it's absolutely one of my favorite movies. And our final pick here, and I watched this movie today because this was the only movie on your list that I hadn't seen. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna check it out since we're gonna be talking about it, and that is Scrooged. Which again, like I had heard about this movie for years. I had kind of known, it was like the Bill Murray kind of Christmas Carol story, but I didn't really know much about it. What's your opinion on Scrooged?
Well, see, a number of these movies, a number of the picks I mentioned, are actually films that I haven't seen since I was a kid. Like,
sure,
most of
that's fair.
Are movies that I remember back to my childhood.
Mm-hmm.
I think as I've grown up, like, I haven't really stuck with like holiday movies.
That's fair. Yeah.
It's kind of like Halloween, because like when Halloween comes by, like a lot of people be like, "What are we watching? What are those scary movies we're watching?" And I don't really like think about it that way. Like, I'll see the horror film that comes out that year and I'll be excited for it, but I don't really watch too many, horror movies for Halloween. So
right.
I don't really watch too many for the holidays. So Scrooge is one of them, though, that I remember as a kid. I thought it was one of the funniest films I ever watched. There's a bit here with like Carol Kane. She plays like the ghost of Christmas Present or something.
Yeah.
Has like a toaster oven or something like that, and she just like he's I think bashing Bill Murray in the head with it or something, and I thought it was so funny as a kid. Bill Murray was like, as a kid, was also one of my favorite comedians, whether it was Ghostbusters, Go Groundhog's Day. So this was another one that I watched. And like as you said, it's like a Christmas Carol take. It's present day Christmas Carol where he has like a business executive, and he just gets visited by these ghosts and some of them like these women that he's dated or something. And it's just really well, I don't know if it's women he's dated, because it was I'm thinking of the Matthew McConaughey film Ghost of a Girlfriend's Past or something. But no, like it was it was just a funny movie, and I think I'd love to revisit it. It's definitely one of those that, man, like I recommend it. I recommend watching it. And I think you'll think it's really a funny movie too.
Yeah, no, yeah. I just again, right before we went live today, I just finished it because okay, I want to have seen everything on your list so I can properly talk about it. And I thought it was really fun. Again, I'm not the biggest Christmas Carol guy. But my camera. I'm not the biggest. No, I've always enjoyed Christmas Carol. I think my favorite version of it. Oh man, I must seem like the biggest Disney guy, but it is the Mickey Christmas Carol and the Uncle Scrooge, and that's always kind of been the one that I've associated the most with. And I think it's easily the funniest take on Christmas Carol, and I think it's really fun to kind of set it in modern day, to kind of give it this businessman vibe, to make it very meta in the way where it's the Christmas Carol, he is aware of the Christmas Carol, they are putting on a production of the play where he works, that's the whole thing, they're filming it and stuff like that. So I think there's a lot of meta-ness that's really fun. He's already established, been oh yeah, you must be the past, and when there's the guy in costume as Death, he's terrified of him. He's no, don't take me. He's dude, I'm in a costume. Relax. Calm down. I don't know what you're talking about. You're crazy.
I should preface that my battery on my PC is about 10% right now. So
okay.
if I go, that's not that's not Death itself taking me away.
No, no, we're actually about to wrap up in a couple minutes here, but no, I really enjoyed this one. I had a blast. I haven't watched many new Christmas movies this year as I maybe wanted to, just because of time and stuff like that. But it is good. I thought it was a really fun take, and I will say, I've now realized with this that I can't watch a Bill Murray movie without just hearing Garfield. I think Garfield has cursed any Bill Murray movie for me.
Now a Garfield version of A Christmas Carol. That's what I want.
Absolutely. I think he died on us. I think his computer died. I was not quick enough. Oh no. I don't know if I should wait for him or if I should wrap it up without him. But no. I'll just stall for a couple minutes and then see if he either comes back or we'll wrap it up without him. But no, I we're heading towards the end of the year. This is the second to last episode of this year, and no, this is an episode I was really looking forward to. Like, I think it's really fun that we've made it to kind of that time of year. Again, that we can do like a second annual kind of Christmassy episode. I'm gonna be curious what I do next year, because I feel like, okay, we've done superhero specials, we've now done just general Christmas movies. I'm thinking next year we'll probably do like Christmas, like maybe TV episodes, like we kind of mentioned here. No, this was fun. This was really fun. I'm excited for next week. I feel like his battery died at the worst time, because we kind of ran out of things to kind of talk about. I guess I can mention, just while I stall for a couple more minutes, because again, I don't know if he's coming back. I'll wait like 2 or 3 more minutes. But I love. Oh, he's back. He's back. I wasn't sure if I should have waited for you. I was like, we're like about to wrap up. I'm not sure if I should just say sayonara or.
Yeah, I don't know. How am I doing here? I might be a bit cut off because I'm on my phone. So.
Yeah, better than last time. It sounds a little bit better than you were on it last time. But Kyle, I mean, again, we were literally about to wrap up the episode. Kyle, thank you for doing this week's episode. Again, I had not known previous information before I asked you on, but you treated us like a champ. Thank you so much. This is an absolute blast. Where can people find you?
Find me on my Kyle Arkin. Find me on social media. Or at Arkin Kyle, which I have on there. Podcast, which is at the Massive Podcast, that's on Spotify and
I feel like it cut out every time you were doing an actual plug. It was like, I'm on, and I'm on. It was really funny. But I will link all of his stuff down below so you can check it out. Again, thank you, Kyle. And yeah, I mean, happy holidays to everybody who celebrates. This is obviously my last episode before the holiday break. I will be back next week for our final episode of the year. I'll be going over favorite things in 2024, favorite movies, favorite TV shows, favorite game, favorite whatever's that's come out this year. Again, thank you, Kyle. And without further ado, I will see you guys on the flip side. Bye-bye.